Igbo kwezonu. Yeah. Oko nyamili, nyamili. Koko nyamili, nyamili. Koko nyamili, nyamili. Koko nyamili, nyamili. Ibole, Ibole. Igbo bunu ndamamihe. Ibole, Ibole. Igbo bunu ndamamihe. Ebulanyelu, 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 ebulanyelu. Anamabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke. Anamabara nụ n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke. Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike. Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike. Koko nyamini, nyamini. Koko nyamini, nyamini. Koko nyamini, nyamini. Koko nyamini, nyamini. Hey, cha 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 cha. Igbo kwezonu. Yeah. Igbo kwezonu. Yeah. Ihe ji mara ndị Ihe bụ ọrụ aka ha. Ihe ji mara ndị Ihe bụ ihe aka ha. Ihe ji mara ndị Ihe bụ ọrụ aka ha. Ụmụgbele. Anyị were omenala dowe n'azụ, were omenala ndị ọzọ bulie elu. Anyị were omenala Igbo dowe n'azụ, were omenala ndị ọzọ bulie elu. Ihe anyị na-eme Chineke na ọ dịrọzi mma. Ihe anyị na-eme Chineke ọ dịrọ mma. Ihe anyị na-eme Chineke na ọ dịrọzi mma. Chei, ụmụ Igbele. Anya si na Chineke anwụlugo nuo, ewere Chineke dobe n'akwụkwọ, a na-agọzi akwụkwọ. Anyị si na Chineke na anwụlugo nuo, ewere Chineke. Dewo, good morning, good morning, good morning to all of you. Dewo num. Wakanda forever, and we are all in that spirit of celebrating African people and celebrating African spirituality. And I'm okay, Dibia Dr. Wanyo Husimiri. I'm your host, co-host, Chiism Live. It is a pleasure to have you here again and walking amongst the living. You know, as I always say, there are so many people. We have so much to be grateful for. We are in the month of Iguji. October the 22nd through November 18th. I wish to wish a happy birthday to everyone born in this sacred month, and a happy birthday to your mother as well, because we cannot forget Mom, because she made it possible for us to be here. So for that, we must be grateful, and for that, we must give thanks. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And this month represents the beginning of the preparation of the yam and general crops planting. Yes, last time I was trying to explain this, but technology being what it is, did not allow me to share. So I'm just going to briefly share with you the importance of this month. First of all, the person who's born in this month, you must be contemplative. Think before you act. Plan well before you initiate any activity. This is your month. This is the time that you have to be very careful what you do. The important color for this month, last time I wore little bits of orange. I have a little bit of orange in my clothing. The important color for Iguji is orange. So wherever you are at some point today, splash a little orange. It is male energy. It symbolizes, this month symbolizes male spiritual energy. And that's, you have to be bold. You have to say what you mean and mean what you say. You have to be protective of your family, your spouse, your children. And if you're a woman, you can use this month also to express yourself. The energy of forwardness, being true to self, speaking your truth to power. And the virtues that we must celebrate this month is orderliness. If you look around yourself and you see disorderliness, this is not the time. This is not the month. You have to be orderly, because orderliness helps you think straight, think well, have your thoughts together. You don't want to be disorderly. And you must engage in purity, do the right things, and integrity. Don't do because others are doing. Make sure you do what needs to be done because it's the right thing to do. This is the month for it. And also the symbol for this month is yam, G, yam. And most of you know what yam is. It's a form of root that we use in Nigeria. You eat it, and we also pound it into pounded yam to eat with fufu. But it's a staple plant. It is a staple plant. Most of what we eat is around the yam. So it's a very significant item, food in our culture. And for those of you who are not married yet, you may want to find somebody whose birth month is Iguji. That's not to say that everyone else does not matter. Somebody, if this is your month, then your preferred, not mandatory, mate should be born in the month of Anyang, which is the June the 2nd through June the 29th. But don't say no to the right person just because they were not born then. It's just what the calendar says that you should pay attention to. The ancestral mandate for this month is avoidance of laziness. Don't be lazy. There are good times to be lazy. There are sometimes you just have to take things easy and be lazy. But now when I talk about laziness, I don't mean be so lazy that you don't do what you need to do for your own betterment. Avoid people who are unruly. Don't get engaged with people who are unruly and people who don't think straight, because believe it or not, sometimes they impact your own way of thinking. So stay clear of people who don't know who they are. And if you're in debt, as many of us are, it's okay. But find out, at least start the process of getting yourself out of debt. Find out what that debt is. What is it that who do you owe? If you owe somebody $100, give them 10. Give them 5. Give them something. If you owe somebody anything, start paying back you may not have it to pay back completely, but start the process. Start the process. So you don't want to be in debt this month. The other thing is, this is a good month for you to take care of your mental health. There are certain things that are not good for your mental health. This is a good time to stay clear. Don't do drugs. Drugs are temporary. They mask your problem, and it's temporary relief. So that's not a very good idea to take things that impact your mental health. Stay clear of people who impact your mental health negatively. I don't care if it's family. Anybody who impacts your mental health, you need to stay clear with, because mental health is very critical. And if you have the time, make the time if you can, and take care of your elderly. Go see some elderly people. If you don't have any elderly person in your life, go see someone. Go. There's so many homes for the elderly. You'll be amazed how they love to have somebody visit them. Some people, nobody even visits them. This is the month of Iguji, and that is one of the causes we're supposed to support your mental health and elderly care. So if you can, some of you will find reasons why you don't and why you will not. But if you can, go and visit the elders. Call an elder. Be a part of their happiness. Be a part of their joy. I want to thank you all for joining me. And now let me add to the stream, Dibia Chiedozie Okoro. Ndewo.
Ndewo, Wakanda forever. Got
Yes.
my Chiist hood on, and I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's do it. You look gorgeous, by the way, man.
Thank you.
I tell you,
Thank
man.
you. I'm honoring my ancestors today. I'm trying to make sure they realize that I see you. I am
Yeah.
you. I'm going to represent you. I am grateful. Yagazie udo dịrị anyị.
You say,
Yeah, let me add to the
you
stream.
say,
Well, is
Hey.
hello.
Dr. Simona Kedu. How are you?
Yes, very good. How are
How
you
you
guys
doing?
today?
We're
Very,
good.
very well.
Yes.
Good to see you. It's been a while. You've been busy.
Yes, just a lot going on. So taking care of family matters, and my grandfather is now an ancestor, so we did put him to rest, and just helping my father with what he was going through, and the surgery and things like that. So I have a lot to be thankful for. I thank Chineke for allowing me to be here today. I know last week also my power went out, so I had no power, so I wasn't able to get on because I didn't have any internet. So the power was out half of the night. Well, all of the night and half through the day. So I apologize for not being there, but I'm here now. And I just thank Chineke and the ancestors for allowing me to be here. Of course, I thank Auntie, Your Excellency, Dr. Uhie, for being here, for allowing me to be in your presence, and also Uncle Yudi for allowing me to be here on the show today. Thank you so much.
Udo dịrị gị. Ọnwa chi bọrọ ọkwa hụ mama bụ ife ghara afụ. Ife ọbụla metụrụ aka ga-agara gị ọgụ nso. Arụ isi ike, ogologo ndụ. Ọmụmụ Chineke enyela gị ya. Ife ihe eji nso ụmụ, ọ ga-enye gị ya. Udo dịrị gị. Ọfọ, ya gazie. Ise o.
You say, today we're going to be talking about African artifacts and spiritual objects that are dear to us. But what is so interesting is that the reason why some of us don't celebrate those items or take them and make them a part of who we are is because we really don't understand our sacredness, who we are. If I ask a young African child today, who are you? Well, they may say I'm African, or I'm African American, I'm this and I'm that. But we are descendants of the parent race. Everybody came from us. Now, it's not trying to be bragging or anything like that, but that's just the truth. We are everywhere. Where on this earth do you not find us? We are all transported all over the world. If we can just take stock of who we are, of ourselves, we can identify ourselves in different ways: African Americans, African Caribbeans, African Latinos, Africans natively, etc., etc. And it's like, for me, I was talking about the movie Wakanda when I started this program. It's exciting that we're now beginning to embrace our ancestral roots and showcase ourselves with such excitement and eagerness.
Yes.
For those of you who may have or may not have gone to to see Wakanda, the spirituality there, the African spirituality being celebrated, it's just absolutely, it gives you goosebumps. But you know, there are some people who are arguing. You know, you don't want to go and attend Wakanda. You don't want to attend that movie because it speaks of African voodoo, African spirituality, all of that at the expense of all these other religions. But the question is, if Wakanda was a country in Africa, even though it's fictitious, that kept other people away, what do you think they'll be practicing? If they kept the world outside that country, what do you think that they practice? What spirituality would you expect them to practice if not their own? You see, so the tragedy is that we define our Africanness in ways that we don't even understand. We start to represent other people's perception or definition of who we are to make us comfortable and to make them comfortable. We have to start being comfortable. All these things, all the things that belong to the African people are significant. They have meaning to us. If we just take stock of them, we see the meaning. We don't recognize them anymore. We don't acknowledge them because we don't understand them. We're embarrassed by them because there's so much negative connotation attached to them. Oh, but when you see it, yes, Wakanda is fictitious, but when you see what it actually is from a perspective of power or pride, it takes a whole new meaning. And you find those people who don't even want to celebrate African spirituality. You see them walk out with pride. There are certain things about being African that we must claim with gusto. And it's a good thing. We claim the clothing. Why not? Colorful. We are colorful dressers. We wear beautiful, colorful clothing. We claim our art. Everybody wants our art, and we share it with the world. It's okay. That's good. Obviously, people love our dance. If you go to TikTok today, it's not African dance everywhere. Everybody's learning it. People like our songs. They like our music and musical instruments. Yes, we should claim those. However, when it comes to some of those little details, we shy away. We don't feel comfortable to show our scarifications. Some of the things that we do in the motherland has negative connotation. We're engaged in what, and we don't want to engage in what the ancestors were engaged in because it's primitive. When we look at the scarification, instead of understanding why the scarification, we run from it. We're embarrassed by it. We don't want to use our homegrown medications. We don't trust them, yet they're very effective. Some of the art that we draw on ourselves, we discourage people. Yeah, we wear lipstick. We wear eyebrow pencils. We wear all these adornments. As long as it mirrors what Europeans use, it's okay. But when you see it on an African, when they color their faces, then we're embarrassed. We don't want to be a part of that. We shy away from them because many other people do not appreciate them and find them unacceptable, weird, and in some cases witchcraft, and we buy into it and we run from it. To be whole, it's like when you're in your own home, when you decorate your home, that home speaks about who you are. It makes you comfortable. When you come home, you know exactly where everything else, you feel good in your home. But many of us don't feel good in our home. We don't feel good in our skin. We're confused. And as long as we reject some of those key things that make us who we are, we will always be embarrassed to be called Africans. Actually, our name is not African. That's a whole different show. Our Kebulan in Igbo is Oke Ebulani. Our Kebulan, the land of the people of color, of the blacks. Yes. Not Africa. Africa is, and again, that's a show that we're going to have so you can know where the name Africa came from. It's not from us. It was given to us by somebody else. Today, we're going to talk about Odo, one of those items that represent adornment for beauty as well as spiritual connotation. Dibia Chiedozie is going to have is going to talk to us about Uto and the significance. He's not here yet. I'm not sure where he is, but he's supposed to be here to speak on it. But Uto is one of those items from a cultural perspective, from an artistic perspective. It's a yellow chalk. You know, you have white chalk, then you have a red chalk, and then you have the yellow chalk. And it is used for beauty, okay? Particularly when a woman has just had a child or is in advanced pregnancy. You know, she's provided by her in-laws. When they come to see her, they provide her with a red powder, which is called Uhie, or yellow powder called Odo, or the black powder called Uri, and they or the white one, Nzo, and they use it to artistically adorn her body. You know, symbolically, it signifies that her pregnancy is a beautiful thing. It's the completeness of her womanhood. Now, that's not to say that when people are not, people don't have children, that they are not complete. That's not the point. But if you are pregnant, it's seen as part of your womanhood, and it's a beautiful thing. And you should not be embarrassed, you know, to have a big stomach. Okay, they're used to adorn her body and bring her out, her beauty out for that moment. It's used to scream, yes, she's gorgeous, just the way she is, so that she herself can see herself as beautiful. And then her body is adorned. And then when the baby is born, these powders are also used, you know, on the child without clothing, you know, as a celebration and welcoming of that child. So that's the artistic component of this. And it looks so beautiful against the melanin-rich skin. I want to share this with you. I'm still waiting for Chiedozie to come in and speak on the spiritual aspect of this, but let me just show you the artistic component of this. As you can see, in many African cultures, they use it, particularly on the face, to adorn their faces, and it looks so beautiful. So beautiful. And I'm just going to share that with you. But here are some of the way that they use Oto, the yellow, as you can see, to decorate their faces. You know, and it's just, you know, it's part of the art. The body is art. The body is seen as is used as an art form. And let's see, you can see that. Now, what is tragic is people don't understand why they adorn their faces, their bodies with these chalk. It is to say that they're beautiful, that they are one with the ancestors. As a matter of fact, the ancestors, some of them decorated based on their perception of who their ancestors is, who they are represented. It was so interesting to read about that. You see, they decorate their faces. And then when we see these decorations, we look at them as negative things, you know, is voodoo. It's not. It's really it's supposed to represent beauty. I am okay. I love myself, you know, and they adore their faces. But you don't see that there's some, like in Kenya, you see them, they still adorn this, and that's Uri. The yellow is Uri. Okay, and it's just to say I'm beautiful, I love myself, and I'm one with my ancestors, you know. And I just wish that we will continue to accept these. Look at that, is that gorgeous? They look so beautiful. All right. You know, that's to say where people are talking about, oh, your nose is too big or your lip is too thick and all that. Instead, they use these colors, they use the chalk to accentuate all those parts of their faces, to say we're not ashamed of who we are, you know. And it's not only about dressing up, it's about, you see, look at how beautiful that is. Okay, it's an art form. That's Uri, that yellow chalk. Okay, and they also use it to paint their homes. Many of the I forgot to do that, but many of the Dindebeles in South Africa, they use that. They use that to paint their homes, you know. So anyway, is Chiedozie is still not here. Well, anyway, while we're waiting for them, let's just kind of talk about what I just shared while we wait for him to come. He did send me a PowerPoint, and perhaps I can go over that PowerPoint eventually. Oh, here he is. Well, wonderful. He's trying to connect now. UD, do you have any comments you want to make before he starts his lecture?
Yeah, colors have significance in all human cultures. You know, if you the Viking culture, for example, the warriors put all this different paint in their faces to denote something, that has to do with your warrior clan, right? The warrior, to represent the warrior and the aggression and all that, to scare your enemies. So you put on all these different paints on your face. Many cultures do that. There's a Chinese culture, they put on the white thing. The Japanese geisha women, they put the white paint on their faces to denote beauty and all that. Um, I think there are seven primary colors. You know what they are. Black, yellow, green, red, blue, white, and what am I missing? Orange, right? And each one of them, as far as what they signify, is different. For example, the color blue signifies depth, peace, something that is supernatural. And that's why you can see at least the supernatural component. You can see the Vikings put the blue paint on and black paint on their faces to kind of scare their enemy. Then black is usually for people that are grieving, darkness, death, unknown. Now, the description I'm giving you is the how you say Oxford's dictionary definition of the significance of colors. Of course, in different cultures, they have different significance. Their odor, for us, usually signifies, like okay, Dibia was talking about, beauty. A woman that is pregnant, when you see a woman put that yellow paint on, you automatically assume that that woman is pregnant or there's something else going on. In some cases, when a man dies and the man, doesn't have any wife, doesn't have any children, and the man dies, they put the yellow odor on that person to signify death, and also to signify that this person that died didn't have a wife and didn't have any children. So for different cultures, these colors mean something. From the dictionary orthodoxy, so to speak, they have different meanings. Yellow is warmth, excitement, happiness. Green is peace, nature, the stillness of it. Orange is health, seriousness, being radiant, looking great out there, exhibiting a level of exuberance about life. And white is for harmony, silence, things that are clean. It's almost universal when you talk about something that is white. That meaning is almost universal. So the yellow in Odo is significant in our own culture. Yellow is significant in other cultures for different reasons. Unfortunately for us, when you see an African with yellow, somehow it's demonized. Now, if you saw a Japanese or a European or somebody else with the color yellow paint on them, you look at it differently. There's something civilized about these things on any other culture that is not African, that is not authentically African. We seem to appreciate that and depreciate our own values and what it means, to us. So it really is tragic, and hopefully, people get a better understanding by watching our show, and hopefully when okay Dibia, excuse me, Dibia Chiedozie, comes on, then he can expand on that a little bit. But point to note is that colors have significance in
Yes,
every human community. So that when you see an African with paint on their face, it has nothing to do with primitivity. It is a communication instrument. These colors, that's what they do. So instead of somebody saying something to you about a specific condition, wearing these different colors on your bodies communicates something
that's
without
right.
having to use words. So just understand, it's a form of communication. It's a communication tool. And all
Mhm.
cultures have that as far as their primordial nature is concerned.
That's right. Uh, Dr. Monet, would like to add to that?
Yes, I think this teaching, this is so wonderful. Again, I think I thank you and Uncle for the knowledge that you're bringing forth today. And I think I just decorated them. reestablishing my place. I just decorated in gold and white. So it's such a coincidence that we're talking about gold face paintings and birthing, because I'm birthing a new space that I'm bringing people in for my classes and all of the things that I'll be doing with my business, and the significance of the face painting. I know when I was a child, I used to just draw faces and not understanding. I think the ancestors was trying to teach me something, trying to get something to me. When I was drawing those faces, I love to draw. I was very artistic, but faces were the major thing that I drew. I like to take clay and make faces with paper mache and paint those faces and mask and things like that, not understanding that it was in my innate nature that my ancestors did these practices, and they were so powerful and they were so beautiful. And I always was drawn to faces because I was always drawn to the beauty of faces and the uniqueness of people. But this is so beautiful. The face painting is so beautiful, and we need to embrace our culture. We need to embrace who we are. And, as African people, the way that we adorned ourselves, there's so many ways we see every day of how European women adorn themselves, or people outside of the African culture adorn themselves. And that is the status quo. That is what people feel is the standard of beauty. But for me, the standard of beauty is this. The standard of beauty is the face paintings and the expression of who we are and the celebration of our beauty, and not only the celebration of our beauty, but also giving homage to our ancestors, of representing. I am one. I felt that was so beautiful, Your Excellency. I am one with the ancestors when I paint my face. I feel like painting my face after this. In representation of being one with our ancestors. It's so beautiful, and we need to embrace this in our culture. There's so many things that we have. I know, as me as an African American, I don't know of people, and many people even in African that's right there on the continent, that do not understand these things. That is why this is so important for us to be able to know where we came from and why we had these practices.
That's right.
So we must know that. We must be the standard. We must be the example. We must start doing these things to ourselves and really being confident and proud of what we're doing.
And stop being embarrassed. Chiedozie has gone out again. He's gone out again. Every time I bring him in, he skips again.
We know why. Infrastructure issues. So I hope he's able to, make it.
And for me, the significance of, thank you, Dr. Monet. The significance of embracing those things is because it's a psychological thing. When you embrace something that's of your, of your people, of your, your own making, it encourages you to go out there and look people in the face and say, I'm okay. Yes. I'm okay. I know, I accept this. This is me. When they say you define yourself, speak for yourself, don't allow anybody to do that. What that does, it allows you to enter the unlimited world of possibilities. And that possibility has to be under your own terms. Your own terms. You cannot step into the world to challenge anybody when you're dragging, wondering who's saying, who thinks this of me. Do they like me this way or don't they? No, it doesn't matter. If you're not chocolate for what you see, if you want goodness, if you want power, if you want people to love you, then start by appreciating and loving every little bit about yourself, even the little scar on your face, even if you're hunched. It doesn't matter, because guess what? People will judge you anyway. Well, you did that song that says, let's give them something to talk about. Give them something to talk about, because they will talk about you. Even if you're the most perfect human being, they will still talk about you. You're still not going to be enough. You see, so that's why it's so important, particularly our children. Even when you go, now think about this, Dr. Monet, you know, you've got little children. When you go to an event, what do? They paint faces.
Yes.
The children they ask people, but when we are doing it, when they see it on our faces, there's something is wrong with it. But when you are at Disney World, or when you're some event going on and somebody's sitting there painting faces and the children are coming up with all these little marks and what have you, oh, it's so cool. But not when we do it as a collective. Then something is wrong with it.
Self-hatred.
It's self-hatred. Now, you don't want to do that. I talked about it the other day. The guy on the internet who was so angry that Black people are going to go see this movie, Wakanda, because of all the evil. What is the evil? That the people are calling ancestors, and the man is saying that calling your ancestors, that's evil. But you're quick to tell me about the ancestors of others. Let me say something to my brothers and sisters out there. If you're calling someone else's ancestor to protect you, when they couldn't protect you while they were living, they have no interest in you as a spirit. They're not going to protect you. When you start calling upon those who caused you to be removed from the motherland, when you're calling those ancestors, what makes you think now that they're in the spirit world, they're interested in your well-being? But you will call them. But the ones that died for you, that were part of you, part of your linkage, you don't like them. You don't want to be bothered with them. So this man, Yuji, self-hatred, it doesn't get worse than that. It doesn't get worse than that. For a man to be telling other men, Black women, particularly Black men, you do not want to go to see that. First of all,
I wonder what his occupation is.
I don't know. But they were angry. Number one, he's angry. Black Panther is female, okay? And you don't want a woman to have that kind of power, Oh, and I saw something that blew my mind. This is a pastor, a Black pastor who, another Black pastor was saying that you should honor women. Oh, no, T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes blessed a new pastor, a female new pastor, right? Blessed her and made her a priest, right? This other Black pastor lost his mind. Why would you do that? He says. What did the Bible say? So he pulled out the Bible. The Bible said that a man should be at the head of a woman. What the heck does that have to do with anything?
Let me say this right quick. I'm not cutting you off. You just talked about he pulled the Bible. In that same Bible, did he realize that God in the Old Testament used Ruth to win battles for the Israelites?
Evidently not.
Ruth was anointed by God. So there's nowhere in the Bible that God said that women can't be anything. Except what men wrote into the Bible to keep women subservient. They just forgot about Ruth and a host of other women in the Old Testament that were anointed by God himself. Quote.
Hello. I mean, I was just like, what is these pastors? And there were all these other pastors, they were just saying, yes, TDJ did it all wrong. A man is supposed to be at the head of a woman. Okay, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Who cares about that? A man and a woman in their own home, they get along however they want to get along. It's between them and Chineke. Yes, Dr. Monet.
And we have to also understand that in the Bible, there were scriptures like the book of Mary taken out so that women have less power, showing diminishing women. And so if you're a Christian, you have to also understand that there were scriptures, there was things taken out that honored women, that showed the power of women in the Bible.
Yes.
What you learn and what you're learning in Chaldean Christianity, there's different forms of Christianity. A lot of people don't understand that either. You know, that you have to understand that things have been changed to fit what they want to be the status quo and how they want to position and have wanted to position women, starting with King James. If you read the King James version of the Bible, some people stand by that, you know, and a lot of things were put in place, taken out to keep women under their feet and also keep people of color, Black people, enslaved people,
yes,
you know, under their feet. And so you have to understand that. So when you're reading the Bible, and I've heard Christians say, well, the whole Bible is the truth. Well, if it's the truth, then why was things taken out? It can't be fully the truth.
Hello?
If believe if things were taken out. They said that, and many Christians know over 100 books were taken out of the Bible.
Yes.
Is this the word of God, or is this a manipulation? Because it's become a manipulation in order to control some people, to control women.
Yes.
You know, not to say that originally it was written that way, because if they were taking things out originally, it must not have been written that way, because most religions around the world, women are honored. Women are giving the same status, just like Chineke. You have the female and the male.
That's right. That's
you know, there's balance.
Yes,
and that makes sense. It makes sense if you're looking at nature and there's balance. So most traditions, most religions, if you say religions, a lot of times I say traditions, women are just honored just as much. The feminine is honored just as much as the masculine.
Yes, and that makes sense. That makes sense because, quite frankly, and that's part of what our brothers and sisters fail to understand. Before anybody came to split the man and the female, okay, we lived harmoniously.
Yes.
Everybody knew what they were supposed to do. Nobody looked at a man's job as higher or inferior, or a woman's job as higher or inferior. Everybody was necessary. Even to the extent that in our spirituality, as you said earlier, China came male, female. We work together. Even the Creator works together. They work together. Those spiritual energies work together to create life. But then they came in here with this whole notion about what the woman did, how she ate an apple, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, come on. And what all that did was it just messed up our society. It really has. Because we don't honor our women. We don't honor our elders. Elders were so honored. Before, you couldn't even look at an elder in the face. You had to bow to an elder, and they gave you permission to rise and look at them. Yes. It did not diminish you to honor your elder. It didn't do that. African spirituality has always been the honoring and respect of duality and the sacredness of who we are. But all that has been torn apart. We're all going in our separate directions. The man, you know, if he can't stand his wife now, instead of him understanding, you made these children, you got to stay here and raise them. You know, I'm done. I want a divorce. She, the same thing. I want a divorce. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? And then the people who are left in the middle are those children, you know, torn. They don't know where to go. Do I follow dad? Do I follow mom? You know, and all of that impacts them. But that wasn't our tradition in the past. It wasn't a tradition. And I'm not saying that, you know, everything changes with time. Everything changes. There are certain aspects of our tradition that, you know, were not good. And it's okay. You don't throw the baby out with the dirty bath water. You know, whatever aspects of our lives or of our cultures that were no good, you know, set those aside, but look to the positive ones and hold on to them. Now, Chiedozie is having challenges with his internet, but I want to share what he shared with me, and so that we can incorporate his presentation. And I'm just going to do the best I can with it, because he really wanted he wanted to be here, but I can appreciate the challenges that he's having. So let me just let me go over these the significance of it's called Udo. We call it Uto. Uto, but some people call it Edo, and some people call it Uto. So that's the yellow chalk, in Igbo spirituality. And we talked a little bit earlier about the significance of it. And this is what he's saying. First and foremost, he did a brief research, because when I called him and I told him this was going to be the topic of discussion rather, he said that what he found out is that it's either called Ido or Udo, okay, which is yellow or red chalk, okay. But Edo is one of the items of prayer in Igbo religion and spirituality. That's right. If you go to anybody's house, and if you go to a spiritual gathering, usually there's the white chalk, as you well know, and also there's the yellow chalk, and then I'm not familiar with the red chalk being a part of it. I'm familiar with the red chalk as part of what we use on adorning, the body art. But this is what he's sharing. Edo is one of the items of prayer in Igbo religion and spirituality. It is usually used along with unzu, white chalk, and oji, the native kola nut, for prayers. However, the uses slightly differ, and let's see what he says, what he means by that. Unzu, the significance of udo, yellow chalk in Igbo spirituality. Unzu, or white chalk, represents peace. And I know that because when somebody comes to my house, when I present that, I'm talking about peace. I bring peace to you. I ask you bring peace into my home. As a matter of fact, once you present them that, you tell them, when you come into my space, bring nothing but goodness, so that when you leave, only goodness will follow you. I think he's here now. I really want him to be the one to make this presentation. Let me see if I can add him. Okay, well, if he should show up, then he can finish up the discussion. When used for prayer, one alerts the gods and goddesses that one comes in peace. That's right. That's why we say, when you come into my home, bring nothing but goodness and peace, so that only peace will follow you when you leave my home. Because if you bring negativity, if you bring ugliness into my space, that's what's going to follow you. So, and this is a cultural way of each one of us guaranteeing each other peace. You come to my home, I must present you with the white chalk to declare my desire for peace and love and blessings for you while in my space. But then I also remind you that when you leave, while you're here, may that be what you have for me. That's what you present to me. So that's what will follow you. Because mpunku means, the hump, the camel's hump, so that you're not humped with negativity as you leave my home. Because I'm surrounded by my ancestors. My ancestors watch over me while you are in my space. And if you don't bring positivity into my space, they are going to make sure that what you leave with is going to be negative. Okay, so it's a reciprocal thing. I give you peace, you give me peace. Because in my home, my ancestors are in there and they can see through you. So if you come into my space and you have evil in your heart, that's what's going to follow you. Okay, so that is a reciprocal thing that we do when people come to our home. Unzu can be used to ward off negative energies by encircling the arena of prayer with it. That's why when we pray, we use it. The priests, the Dibias use unzu. Mostly all Dibias use unzu. All Dibias use unzu during prayer. When you have a collective, when we are in the ama, so to speak, where, oh well, here he is. Let me see if I can get him in. There you are. Hello, Dibia. How are you? Oh, he's really.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Don't bother adding me. Let me just observe because I'm not using my laptop. I'm not using my laptop. I'm using my handset. There is no network to carry the laptop.
Okay. All right. All right. So I'll just continue based on what you gave me. Okay. So as he's indicating, and afterwards I can ask him additional questions. Nzu usually comes in two forms: female, nzuwanyi, and male, nzunwoke. That's an interesting component of it. I'm going to ask him to explain that a little bit. Nzu is also one of the items in Okwanzu. I think I've shared with you the Okwanzu, which is the charger where you put the white chalk, and then when somebody comes into your home, you hand that to him. These are just, it may sound simplistic, but it has so much meaning for us. Sometimes when somebody comes to my home and I forget to give them Nzu, I feel so bad after that, because I know that it's something I'm supposed to present, to profess peace, to welcome them into my home. And then when I forget to do that, it just kind of haunts me for a while. I say, oh my God, I didn't offer them Nzu. So it's very significant to us. All right. So I want to ask all of you, if you don't have it in your homes, get it. You can make it. It could be it doesn't have to be from Nigeria or from Africa. You could just be a wooden charger. You could buy that from any grocery store if you don't have, any store, something wooden. It's preferred that it's wooden, some wooden charger. And you can go to a store, an African store, and you can find the Nzu. It's everywhere. If you go there, you see, as a matter of fact, at the counter, that's usually where they have the kola nut, and then they have the Nzu. If you don't have that, if you're practicing Chiist, then you go get it. Go get it. And what you do is, when you get it, it's white chalk. When you go to an African store, they ask them for Nzu, or you just ask them for the white chalk. Okay, and they'll give it to you. Make sure you have that in your home. I have mine's on a big charger. Make sure you have that in your home. And when somebody comes up, try practicing it. Try practicing that. I present this to you, welcome you into my home. It is for peace while you're here. And while you're here, it is my responsibility to protect you. And when you leave my space, or while you're in my space, I hope that's what you have in your heart for me as well, so that is what's going to leave with you. I am surrounded by my ancestors. I'm protected. So while you're here, don't think you can get away with anything, other than goodness, other than sharing with me, the goodness that I have in my heart for you as well. Oji Igbo, or native kola nut, is used for communication with one's chi, our ancestors. The four elements of or forces: Eke, which is water; Ori, wind; Afo, earth; and Nkwo, fire. And the gods and goddesses of the land for protection, peace, favor, prosperity, and long life. Here again, if you go, and the only thing about Oji, you have to always get it fresh. I think it will last okay for about 2 or 3 days. If you wrap it in a wet cloth and put it in the refrigerator, it will stay moist for a little bit, but it does dry out. If you leave it out, it will dry out eventually, so you have to go and get more. But if you go to get your chalk, okay, and if you're somebody who has visitors all the time, if you want to practice African spirituality, make sure that you have that in your home. Go to any of these African stores where you're getting your Nzu, and also get the Oji, wrap it in a wet, damp cloth, damp paper, and put it in the refrigerator. That's how I store mine. And it will stay sometimes longer than 3 days, So when somebody comes to your home, you present them the chalk, and you also present them with the kola nut, okay? So why they're in your home, after you give them the chalk, you have communion with the ancestors, with water, wind, earth, and Nkwo, fire. And of course, the gods and goddesses of the land for protection, peace, and favor, prosperity, and long life. That's what I love about my African spirituality. There's so much symbolism, and it's all positive. It's all positive. It's the opposite of what the people think when you talk about African spirituality. African spirituality is just connection with the community, connection with the creator, connection with your world, how you relate to your world is all encompassed in some of our traditions. Oji is also one of those items in Okwanzu, okay, and is used to welcoming visitors. I said that already. The third item that you use is oseoji, alligator pepper. Oh my God, let me tell you about that one. If you have alligator pepper, as a matter of fact, if you're a priest, before you start preaching in the community, and when I do go out in the community, before I start to preach to anyone, I have to eat it, because the whole idea of the oseoji, if you go to the African market and you ask them for that, you may find those are not very easy to find, but the alligator pepper, you know, if you get that, it's very spicy. Just one little bit, they're black, and if you take just one of them and put in your mouth, whoo, it will take care of your tongue for a little bit. But here's the thing: if you're a priest, if you're a Dibia, when you eat that, you're supposed to speak nothing but the truth. Only the truth can come out of your mouth. You cannot eat it and speak to the community if you're going to lie to them. So again, it's mere symbolism. You eat that, it burns your tongue a little bit, and then you know, people know that anything that comes out of your mouth is going to be truthful. Are we always truthful? I don't know, but for the most part, that is the whole objective of the alligator pepper. Edo is specifically used to sue for peace between human beings and the spirits of what is described in Igbo as udomo na mato, peace between the ancestors, the human beings, and the spirit. Significance. You know, these are all kinds of things that we do that many of us call voodoo. Well, people can't call it voodoo because people don't really even know what voodoo is. It's not voodoo, it's voodoo. But it is our way of talking with each other, honoring our ancestors, connecting, and setting up specific ways to relate to each other, to our past, which our ancestors represent, and to ourselves and to each other. We use it to dispel evil. It is also used to destroy the actions of evil people against one. It is used to get favor and protection from the ancestors, the gods and goddesses. Odo, he's calling it Odo, but we also call it Odo. Is used to plead with the gods and goddesses to forgive our ignorance and iniquities or misdeeds. So it's just a little chalk. So when you are speaking to the ancestors and some of those kinds of concerns, you use that. And then the thing about it is when you use it, you smear it on yourself, you know, your face, your arms, and in some cases on your chest. You know, it is used as a symbol of confessing our misdeeds to the gods and goddesses of our land. Simple thing. It doesn't involve you buying anything, paying too much money to go and confess or give anybody too much. You can do it right there with yourself, your ancestors. These little symbols are so important. It's so important that we know it, you know. And again, it's used to ask for peace and calmness when things are blowing hot in your life. You know, when you you know that things are not going very well, go get your Odo, or Edo as it's called here, and grind it. It comes just like the chalk. You know, the chalk is like a stone, you know, formed like a stone, but it's not a stone. It's quite soft, and then you just grind it. The same thing with the Odo, you know. And then when you ask for forgiveness, or when your things are going not too good in your life, you know, you just smear those on your body, you know, and you find that you know, even if it's psychologically, it makes you believe that things will be okay. All right, and that's really I can't get him back in here, unfortunately, but that's basically the presentation he was supposed to be making today. Your thoughts, everyone?
Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, every culture has its own processes, its rituals. Every religion has that. And if you look at it purely from a point of how these processes are defined by those people that continually take away your freedom, your colonizer, and those people that enslaved you. If their point of view is what you have in your head as they define you and define the things that you do, then it means that you are totally lost. And this is a direct lecture here. You're out of it. Christianism has its own processes, drinking the blood and eating the flesh. Sounds like cannibalism to me. At least that's how Emperor Nero of Rome viewed it and proceeded to persecute Christians. Of course, the persecution was not because they were Christians, but because they refused to pay taxes, serve in the army, and always separated the men from the women. And so the Romans thought that Jews were homosexuals and they persecuted them. That's the reason behind the persecution. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're Christians, except that these Christians don't want to conform to Roman culture. There's a saying that goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's like coming to the United States and then refusing to pay taxes here. How long do you think you're going to last before they throw you in jail? There's nothing that we do that is different from what other cultures do in terms of meaning. The process is different. The significance is different. But in terms of why we do it for one reason and one reason only, regardless of what culture you come from. There's a level of psychological focusing that is involved here. That's why you go through all these rituals. These rituals are not there because once you perform the ritual, things change for you. These rituals are psychological prods that brings you closer to the state of mind that you need to have to be able to communicate with God Almighty, Chineke, or with your ancestors and with these deities. And by the way, I don't like using the word gods and goddesses. That is the definition of the European. They define their own entities or deities that way, and they bring the same thing to us. I'd rather use the word deity if we're going to use English. I'd rather say deity than gods, because to me, gods reinforces the notion that we're worshiping other things other than Chineke. So I'd rather say deities. Talk about the ancestors. And I talk about the ancestors just like every other culture talks about their ancestors. The Chinese have ancestors from Mao Zedong to whoever. The Mongolians got Genghis Khan. The Romans have Julius Caesar, Augustus, and what have you. You have the British have Henry, King Edward. Every culture has ancestors. Every culture have deities, as long as they believe that there's something greater than themselves, and that something is the Almighty Creator. Every culture that believes in an Almighty Creator also believes that the Almighty Creator has helpers, have people that do or bring messages to the Creator, or people or entities that you need to appease for you to have the ear of Chineke. In Christianism, you have the angels from the Old Testament. What do you call it? Judaism is about ancestral reverence and angels. Angels is not part of Christianity. It's part of Judaism, which is the Old Testament. That's where the idea of angels come from. If you look at Roman mythology, Zeus is the god of all the gods, residing in Mount Olympus. After Zeus, what do you have? You have Hades, which is the opposite. Then you have Aphrodite. Then you have Titan. Then you have all these different Greek gods that reside in Mount Olympus. Heck, you even have Aquaman, okay? You know what I'm saying? So every culture has that. what gets me upset, looking at the lecture that you just gave, explaining the significance of Odo. And by the way, Odo does not come from the ground. Odo comes from a tree. It is a tree that is ground, that is yellow. The pulp and all that is ground until it's dried, and then it becomes this powdery substance that they put on, while the chalk comes from clay. Uhie is also the same thing. It comes from a tree. It's red in color on the inside, and they grind it and they dry it, and it becomes that. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there with the lecture that you.
But they sell it when you get it. The auto, it's like in balls. You buy it in balls, just like.
Yeah, I'm just saying what where it comes from, what it's made out of, so to speak, so that our audience will understand that, right? So you go to every culture, go to the Amazonian culture, the face paint and the body paint and the body tattoos. Go to the Samoan culture, the face paint and the body tattoos all have significance. The Viking culture, Odin, all that stuff, Loki, Thor, they have paint, body tattoos, paints on the face. All these things signify something.
Yeah.
Cultures that have rites of passage require you, like the Samoan culture, to have certain tattoos. Some of this body configuration has to do with cultural or tribal identity, particularly in Africa, where everybody is pretty much my color, and you cannot differentiate one person from one tribe from somebody from another tribe unless they speak to you. So the body, the tattoos, or the body, mutilations lets you right up front know where somebody comes from. The Yorubas have all these, mutilations on the side of their face. Igbos have a little thing that goes on here and a little thing. Then the house has got a whole bunch of other stuff. You look at them and immediately you can identify where they come from. African spiritual culture is no different from universal spiritual cultures all over the world. So we cannot look down on our own thing because the colonizer and the enslaver have brainwashed us into thinking that our practices should be considered inferior to other practices when they are all doing the same thing. You walk into a church, you kneel in front of the effigy of Holy Mary or Jesus Christ. It's an idol. You use the word idol to impugn our own spiritual traditions. When you see an effigy or a statue of or a carving of Fijoko, all of a sudden that is voodoo, even though you don't understand what voodoo is. There's nothing like voodoo. Voodoo is just a French corruption of the of voodoo from Dahomey and Togo, which means Mother Earth. That's all it is. And a misunderstanding of this spiritual way of worship is what gave rise to the word voodoo by the French. And then Hollywood blew it into this horror movie show kind of thing. And all of a sudden you got the zombies and blah, 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 without actually understanding what all these things mean. I can go into the zombie thing. That also has its own genesis, which comes from the blowfish. The blowfish is a fish that when it sees danger, it swells up like that. It's got spikes, but it has certain toxins in it that people use to hunt. They also use it for spiritual practices. They also use it to poison somebody. When you take a little bit of that toxin from the blowfish and you put it into somebody, they go into this coma, but they never die. Right? It saps their memory. They go into this coma. They barely have a pulse, and you think they're dead, and you go and bury them. Then the person that poisons them goes back in, digs them out as soon as those people are put in the ground. He goes back and digs them out. And if they haven't suffocated from lack of oxygen, that person looks upon the person that got him out of that grave as their master or the only person that they know. And whatever it is that you want them to do, they will do it because they have no memory because of the toxins from the blowfish. That's how the idea of zombies came about in Hollywood. That's the true story of it. So all I'm trying to say here is everything about African culture has significance. There's something about African culture that we should jettison. But like Dibia mentioned, you don't throw the baby out with a bathwater. There are so many things about European culture that is terrible, and you get rid of them. But it don't mean that you throw away European culture, throw away its history, just because those other processes are bad. So now you make a judgment about every other act of their culture. Japanese have the same thing, Chinese, Indians, there are things about different cultures in the world that are no good. And some of these things that came about because of our ignorance, because of our misunderstanding of phenomenon of nature or different things that happen in our lives that we have no control over. So we ascribe supernatural forces to them. Once science comes in and is able to explain those things, is able to cure certain diseases, all of a sudden, some of these religious practices mean nothing anymore because science has explained it. Chineke and science make strange bedfellows, but science is religion.
That's right.
That's it. Yeah.
That is so true. I want to ask Dibia Chiedozie. We can see you now. Thank you for joining. I hope I did your presentation justice.
You're welcome. Finally.
Yeah, so the devil is a liar. I don't know if you can hear me.
That's a good one.
Yes.
I just had to persist. In fact, I'm using my handset. I had to resort to using my handset instead of the computer. And I kept trying different apps. So until this app I'm using now is Chrome. So I think it's stable now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Well, you know.
Yeah, so about the presentation, I don't think I will have done it as you did, because you know certain information that I don't.
Oh my
so that's why you are okay, Dibia.
My brother. I do have a question. I do have a question. Part of the presentation, it talks about the fact that Nzo is also male and female. How can you explain that, please?
Yeah, actually, when I don't know if I can walk towards the chalk, and I don't have the female, but I have the male, and let me just walk there. I hope this will not break. I hope it won't break. This is how the male looks like. This is how the male looks like.
Okay.
It's usually straight and smooth, and of course, it's these are symbolisms. They are made to represent manhood, right? The female is made to look elegant. Of course, if I were at home, I will have shown you the female, because that's what my wife uses. So the female is meant to use elegant, to look elegant, and is designed with some kind of design, but it's also white, and it's usually smaller than the male. So the male is a bit heavier and longer, while the female is a bit smaller and more beautiful, looking elegant, made to look feminine. So it's just symbolisms, and that's meant to see, for me, the way I understand it is that that's to show that in our traditional communities, there was recognition of the two gender. The two gender were well recognized and well pronounced. None swallowed the other. There was complementarity. And so whatever is created for male, the female side is created. And whatever is created for female, the male side is created. And those institutions, you still see remnants of them. In fact, not remnants, you still see those institutions in the villages. Unfortunately, the women are not coming forward to claim their institutions, while the men have representatives. And as usual, when you don't have, you have two things that are supposed to complement each other, one another, and one arm is not there, the other arm becomes prominent and seems to stampede the other one out. That is what is happening in the villages. Since the males are the one holding forth to their institutions, like we said the other time, that was just about last week, some of these males are in the church, and so they are using holding the symbolisms of tradition, using the church mind. And like some of people in the village will say, Ndu Chiochi. That's those who laugh at our culture, who mess up our culture. And in some other places that they are Muslims, they have a Muslim mind. When I talk about the Christian mind, the Muslim mind, that is the mind of trumpeting the female out, so that the male factor become pronounced. And so that is what is happening now. But if we are to go by tradition, whatever has male must have female, and whatever has female must have male. And that is the way you can even see the question of what I call the psychic engines. Those terms that they call gods and goddesses, I call them psychic engines. They are engines for us to channel ourselves, our energy towards Chukwu Okike Abiama. We can use them as mediums if we want. They are representing us, but they are not deities in the way that Apollos and Zeus was for the Greeks and the Romans. For us, these are psychic engines. And yes, we do venerate them. Like if I'm to go to the president of the United States on agricultural matters, I will have to go through the Minister of Agriculture. And if I have to go through the Minister of Agriculture, I have to go through some formalities. Those formalities may seem to be like veneration, but that's what it may seem to the outsider. And so what we insist on is that before you begin to cast aspersions on the people's culture, you must come first within the people's mindset, understand what things mean in their domain, and not cast your own lenses on the people's way of life. If we do that, it's going to lead to not only clash of culture, but a misrepresentation of culture, which is what has been happening world over since the time of imperialism. So yes, Unzu does have, I know of Unzu does, and I've seen it myself when I went to Okigwe to purchase the traditional items. So to purchase a cola and those things for Okwanzu. So, and then incidentally, most of those who sell these things are females. You hardly see males sell them. The custodians who sell them in the market are females. And they'll know the history of these things. They will tell you the significance. And if you want to learn, you can learn from them. So I saw the Nzu, the male and the female. So I bought the male for myself and I bought the female for my Ure Mama. That's how it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's wonderful. And for those of you, he's talking about Okwanzu. Let me see if I can have you see what Okwanzu. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
This is the Okwa. This is it's called the charger. Okay. If you don't have it, I'm really insisting that us as Chiists, that if you don't have it, get it. Go and get it. I've got 2 of these, but it doesn't have to be exactly like this. If you can get a wooden charger, that's what you get. But as you can see, inside of it is the chalk. The side of it is the chalk. And usually when people come to my home, I present this. I'm not embarrassed. I'm proud to do so because I'm honoring my traditions. I'm honoring my family. I'm honoring my father, my mother. This is what they left for me. So you just insert your right middle finger and then you smell on your left wrist. Okay, and that's what you present to your guests. And that means that because the heart is on the left side of the body, then you are saying to them that I'm welcoming you into my space with all of my heart, and my protection for you is what I seek. But like I said earlier, I'm going to expect the same thing from you. You come in here, bring nothing but goodness and goodwill to me, so that goes with you. And that's our interpersonal relationship. Oh, and let me indicate this. If I don't present this to you, never mind if I forget, okay? But if I purposefully don't present this to you, frankly, that means you're not welcome. Maybe I know something about you that I don't like, and I don't like your energy. I really don't want you here without me saying much to you, without me having to say, get out of my house. That just means you're not welcome here. So you kind of look out for if traditionally, if you come to an Igbo person's home, they are expected to give you chalk and kola nut. Before they do anything, this is my experience, and for all of us who are Igbos, you know, for those who honor our traditions, please understand that there are people who don't honor it. There's some people who consider this process a negative thing. It's voodoo. They don't understand it. They literally freak out. Dr. Monet, Dibia Monet, practice this.
Yes.
Practice this because you're welcoming people into your space, and they are there for your goodwill. You're going to help them, but make sure that you present the chalk to them as well, because they must bring that to your space as well. Psychologically, that's the way that you do encourage them to think, to come in there with peace in their hearts. Once you present that to them, that means you guys are one now. All right? I'm hoping for goodwill. I welcome you to my space, but I expect you to be here with nothing but goodness in your heart for me. Interpersonal relationships.
Yes.
Interpersonal relationship. It doesn't have to be this big. It could be small. It could be just a wooden charger, a small wooden charger. Yes, you were going to say?
No, I did have a question. I was wondering with that, as far as the kola nut, is that ground in there, or do I cut up the kola nut and offer that?
You as a woman, you present the kola nut, but a man cuts it. Okay, you can present it and bless it, but you don't cut it. You understand? So you don't cut it up and put it for them to, you know, symbolically, females can bring like a chief or a spiritualist, a dibia. They can present it to the family, to the community, but they don't break it because of the culture. The culture says a male breaks it, but a woman can say. Dr. Chiedozie talked about it last time. You know, a kola nut is female. Am I right, Dibia? Can he hear me? Dibia Chiedozie? He's not hearing me.
Yeah, the kola nut tree is female. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you, but you're breaking. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's frozen.
I'm nodding my head.
We can hear.
Okay. Yeah, you said the kola nut is female, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the kola nut tree is female. That's why it bears fruits. But the kola nut seed, the four cotyledon and four seeded kola nut is male and female. 2 males, 2 females. But the kola nut tree itself is female. That's why it bears flowers and bears fruits. Whatever bears fruits in nature is female. And that is why, for us, the female must be protected by all means, like the way the sky, Igwe, shields the earth.
Or the queen bee, the queen of the ants.
Yeah. So to answer your, I'm sorry, to answer your question, Dibia Monet, you can get the kola nut. You can even bless it and present it to the male to cut. He cuts.
Okay, so my husband, I can bless it, and then I have my husband cut it for me.
Yeah. Now,
women
can eat their own kola. If you understand, you can cut it for your own female gathering. Women do that. If you're a dibia, okay, you can do that. But there's the notion that only a man can touch kola nut and all that. That's false. That is not.
Let me expand on that for a second. Let me expand on that.
Go ahead.
Like he mentioned before, the kola nut tree is female, and then it bears the 4 cotyledons. You know, kola nut that has 4 parts is the most significant kola nut in this welcoming ritual, in this presentation. Now, if you are titled as a woman, Dibia, chief, whatever, when the kola nut is brought in, usually by a guy or a woman, it doesn't matter, it's passed around, and all the elders and people gather, the significant people in the room touch it. The woman will touch it. That Dibia lady, that woman who is a chief, will touch it just like every other titled man. Then it's given to the elder to bless, to break. When you say breaking kola, we're not talking about the cutting of the kola. We're talking about the incantation, the prayer that is offered with the kola nut. Then after that, then usually the youngest person will cut up the kola and then pass it around. And the lady sitting there who's titled and all that can pick up a kola just like every other guy in there and eat it. You understand? So that's how it works. But you don't grind the kola or do anything with it. The only thing that is ground is the nzo, the chalk that you smell on your left side of your, on your wrist right here, right? The kola nut itself, for us Igbos, we use only Igbo kola nut. That's what we use, right? Because the Igbo kola nut can be broken up into 6 natural parts, but the most significant is the 4. So if you go to any African store, usually you can find kola nut there and buy it. But don't keep it too long in your refrigerator because it's going to get dry and dry up. Then you can't break it or eat
That's
it.
what I said earlier.
Yeah.
That's why I said earlier, you can wrap it, but that works if you wrap it in a wet tissue.
Oh,
And
okay.
put it for 3 days. It will last about 3 days. After that, it will dry up.
Yeah.
But let me go back, Dr. Monet. For instance, if they we saw that. We saw behind you.
What that is fair.
Information about preserving the kola. Information. Information.
Yeah.
If you want the kola nut to last for like a week or 2, you can get this. You can get this. You see this?
What is that?
You can. Yeah, this is a cellophane bag. Cellophane bag.
Oh, okay.
The one you use in tying bread. Yeah, if you put this, like this one now, I have broken this kola nut for like, this is about the 5th day, and you can see it still looks fresh.
Okay.
And this particular kola nut has stayed with me. This is about the 6th week. So when you put it in this, and you tie it, you don't allow air to touch it. Don't allow air to touch it. It can last for as long as 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
Wow.
Okay, so that's if you want it to last longer. Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for the information. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Monet, I just want you to know, if it doesn't mean that a woman cannot break the kola nut with other women around. You can do that. You understand? If your guest is a woman, you can break the kola nut, and eat it with your guest. That's okay. It's just that when you have a forum of men and female, usually that responsibility of breaking it, the responsibility of breaking it can go to a young person in the room can break it, and then they will be blessed by the elder. There's so many different ways of doing this.
So if it's just
if it's you and your guests, if they're female, right? Then you can.
Well, if it's a mixture, if it's a mixture of male and female, I'll bless it and have my husband cut it.
Yeah, he can cut it, and then the elder in the room will bless it as well. And then the young person in the room can pass it around. There's so many different ways. But if you were Dibia, if you've gone through your Dibiaship as I have, then you can actually break the kola nut.
Okay.
As a spiritualist, you are, that's part of being a spiritualist. They don't hold that from you. But anyway, I want to ask this question. UD, this is for UD, Dibia UD. What is it that we must do? I'm not talking about just, do this and do that. What specifically do we do to encourage our people to practice these things? Not just, well, it's a good thing for you to do with blah, blah, blah. What specifically, what processes should we put in place to encourage for our people to embrace their own things? What?
Oh man, that's a deep question. And the reason why I said it's a deep question, because it requires two things. It requires the family institutions, and then it requires a collective intervention by those in power, those that understand this Pan-African mindset that we must encourage, right? You have to have leadership that encourages that. So that way you create situations and spaces and forums where a tradition is showcased so that people can start to see it, where it is just not something that you see or is done at home. Listen, you could pray at home all you want to, but the indoctrination beyond your parents, your mother, is the church that you go to on Sunday. So we must create space where people of like minds can come together and practice African culture without apologizing for it. It must be out there as prominent as the Sunday church, as prominent as the mosque. And you must stand on your own truth and tell it like it is. And you must discuss our culture by doing what I call or understanding that other cultures do the same types of things, just differently, but the meaning has always been the same. I mean, the idea of going to church and reading your Bible and doing all this thing is just to help you decipher the mystery of Chineke. Nobody has the answers. You go through these rituals and processes because of your attempt to decipher the mystery of the Almighty Creator. That's why you do it. That's what religion is all about. An understanding that something is greater than yourself, and that something has to be Almighty Creator. The air, the wind, the air that you breathe, the food you eat, the land that you're standing on, the sky above you. You didn't create those things. So you ascribe the existence of those things to a higher being, and that is common amongst all cultures. Otherwise, why do you have religious philosophies? Now, there's a difference between religion and religious philosophies. Religious philosophies are practices and processes that we extract from this realization that is something greater than ourselves. And the idea behind these processes is to make sure that we have the kind of relationship with our fellow human beings and our environment that will help nurture our existence in this world. Because without understanding your relationship and how important your fellow human being is to you, the animals around you, the land, the air that you breathe, why it should be pure, why the river should be clean. If you don't understand how these things come together to sustain life, then you're in trouble.
Yes.
So philosophies are designed to reinforce this understanding. Unfortunately, while you're reinforcing this understanding, you now use these philosophies as a tool to control and then have people do your bidding. It's all about power anyway, in the end, as opposed to the etymology of why you're doing it in the first place. The reason why you're doing it in the first place. We must have forums like we have right now, and we talk about it. And we're not apologetic about it. And that's one thing I appreciate about you, all of you. I really appreciate about Chiedozie, who is in Nigeria there. If you think let me tell you, in Nigeria, to not be Christian over there is almost like living in hell. Because they don't want to deal with you, politics, business, all that kind of stuff. The only thing that will make somebody deal with you is if your character, as a man, as a woman, as a person, it's bright, it's shining so bright that they may forget the fact that you're not a Christian and do business with you, because doing business with you will put money in their pocket. But as far as the power structure in Nigeria is concerned, if we ain't Christian in the South or Southwest or Muslim up north, you're going to have issues.
Yes.
Politically, business-wise, you may not have issues business-wise, because in the end, everybody wants money.
Yes.
Politically speaking,
we're going to take... We're going to take, I'll give you a second to finish your thought. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Go ahead.
Yeah, but politically speaking, you have issues. So I just want to commend Dibia Chiedozie for, being steadfast in Nigeria. But bottom line is, we have to have leadership starting from the family, starting from these kinds of forums, being able to step out and talk about it. Do not apologize for being authentically African, and maybe at some point find the kinds of leadership in education and in politics that will encourage this awareness, so that if I go to Abuja, I can be able to, or if you come to Africa, just like you go to Rome, just like you go to Saudi Arabia, and you see the Kaaba, and you see the Vatican in Rome, and you see the Notre Dame in Paris, you could come to Africa and see one of these religious edifice.
And we're going to hold it. We're going
to embrace or to learn from us.
We're going to pause right there. Thank you so much, UD. We'll be right back and we'll pick up with the conversation. An improved website.
Hold on. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Wait, has it occurred to me that you still haven't subscribed to this channel yet? You haven't subscribed, you haven't followed the Facebook, you haven't checked out the website, nothing? No. Hold on, you're missing out down here. You're gonna have some fun. But big shout out to everybody who has been watching us for a long time. We've been doing this for years. We've been doing this for a long time, and this is the biggest we have ever reached out to people. And I do appreciate for everyone who watched the video to the end. It really helps us. We try to give out wisdom and information every single day. Much love to everybody. Make sure to follow the Facebook. Make sure to check out the website and the YouTube. We post 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can't miss that. Have a beautiful time. You have a blessed day. Wonderful day.
Nsọ gị Chukwu ka ị na-abata, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Anya bịawa ịsọpụrụ gị ugbu a, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka ị na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Ụmụ eliwa yikọta n'otu, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Ka anyị jikọọ ofe ya ofufe godian, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Godianism bụ ịhụnanya n'udo, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Butere anyị ụzọ kpetara anyị azụ, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru.
Yes, yes, yes. Come to Chineke and find peace, love, and joy. And here we are. Thank you. I just want to thank you, Dibia Udi, for your input there. I want to ask the same question to Dibia, Dr. Simone, and then I'll go to Dibia Chiedozie. Tell us, what are your thoughts? What do you think we must do to start encouraging our people? You can feed off what Dibia Udi said, to start practicing our things, Your thoughts?
I think the most important thing is getting the information out there. And just like me, I wasn't familiar with, I've seen that on TV where people will put the white chalk on their face or put the chalk or paint their bodies and things like that. But I never was given a understanding of what that meant, which is so important, because when we don't have an understanding of what something means, people start to assume things, so they're not sure. And then because African spirituality has been demonized, everything that we see that is coming from on a spiritual level from African spirituality, it's not always looked upon as positive. But what more positive can peace bringing to a house can be? What more positive to praying, painting yourself so that you're praying to your ancestors and praying to Chineke, praying and connecting with the spiritual world. But people do not understand that and have a misconception of what is going on. So shows like this is so important, that so that we're able to get the true understanding and all of those the attack against African spirituality and all of the lies that has been told about spirituality is debunked, so we're able to get the truth out there so that people are led back to their spirituality, back to the God of their ancestors and the practices of their ancestors. Just like me, not even knowing what the show was going to be today. We have gold and white, and I literally was putting my space together, things gold and white, and not understanding, not realizing. And I think it's Chineke just confirming to me what is being taught today. And I thank my spiritual mother, Your Excellency, and both my spiritual fathers here for all of the knowledge and wisdom that Chineke has given you and that you have given me. But I also am very thankful for the ancestors for bringing forth the message, because it is so important for us to have this knowledge. If we didn't have this, people would still have that misconception of what African spirituality really is. But the information is so important, and I will be practicing this. When I put these things to practice, everything I learn I put to practice. So when people are coming to my home, I keep passing the bowl. I had my mother-in-law has a wooden bowl that has the chalk in there, but I didn't know the meaning. So I'm passing it, but I didn't know the meaning, how to use it, or any of that. And I have the ball. I literally have the ball right here in the house, and didn't know. So I'll put my chalk in that same bowl, that I've been passing, because I didn't know the significance of that. It's our ignorance. If I did know the meaning, I would have been doing it. But definitely, when people come into my home, I will be doing that, and I'll also be praying with the yellow chalk, and putting the yellow chalk and doing my prayers. You know, so this is something I'm definitely, I said, you know, today I'm going to go to the African store and hopefully they have everything so that I can gather everything to start to put this in practice right away. I believe when the Spirit is speaking to you, this me doing white, because I didn't know what colors I would do, white and gold, which is yellow. I think the Spirit is from this is all coming together, and then you have to go out and get your chalk, you know. And now I know the meaning of that. So I'm so thankful for all of you, my spiritual mother, my spiritual fathers. This really means a lot to me. This is an excellent show, and it means so much. And I will be passing on the information. I always pass on the information. I was, you know, speak about the information to others so that they know, they have a knowledge. And a lot of people want to learn. They want to learn when they know the truth. You know, about what African spirituality, and then, you know, so-called voodoo not being a bad thing, or voodoo, you know, people knowing the real word of not, this is not a bad thing. This is our spirituality. This is the way that our ancestors, you know, if we're of African descent or the diaspora, this is the way, the beautiful way that they practice. This is the way that they connected with Chineke. We have to preserve this. We have to know this and not get so westernized, you know. And even now, even with my family, you know, there's certain things that I do, and they know that I'm into spirituality, and they're interested. They're still, but they're interested and they still incorporate things.
You don't get your husband to start breaking the kola nut when he has guests in the house. Okay, that's a practice. Okay, get your son, your oldest girl. Get your oldest girl, when somebody comes to visit, let her take the chalk and present to them to welcome
indoctrination.
Them. Yes, and that, you know, and the child starts to learn. This is how I bring people into my home. That is so important. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Dr. Dibia Chiedozie, go ahead, please. Your thoughts. Same question.
There are a lot of things we can say, but let us start. A lot of things we can do, but let us start what we can do individually. Then we can now talk about group. Somebody is disturbing that's one of the disadvantages of using handset. Somebody is disturbing my flow, calling me. So, yeah. So the first thing we must do is that we must believe in what we are doing. Because when I started, right from my family, my sibling, my father, my parents, I was like an outlaw. I was disgracing the family, and I'm supposed to be promoting the Christian Catholic tradition. And I asked my father, was your father, my grandfather, a Catholic? He was a traditionalist. So I'm just going back to what our fathers used to do. And what I am doing is what they have called me do. And if I depart from it, then nothing was going to work. And I didn't know as of that time that because I had departed from it, and I was looking for work to take care of my mom. So my mom was taken away. I realized it. You know, my mom was taken away. This person is still calling me. My mom was taken away, and a lot of things happen. You know, when the cosmic really wants to make you get focused, that it takes away all that distracts you. So a lot of things happen that caused a lot of family conflict, and all of that was just to make me face my direction. And you don't have to bother whether people are following or they are not following at the initial time. You just have to be yourself. Then you don't have to be ashamed of what you are doing. Then you have to brag about what you are doing. Just be humble, be simple, I humble, be simple, but be forthright, be committed and focused. I do my prayers when I get to my house. When I get to the office, I do my prayers first. That's the first thing I do. When I do it, that is why I'm going to I kind of do my prayer. I don't shut my door because when I throw the hot drink, the spirit on the ground, as I'm asking that wealth and good things should flow inside, I should also ask that it should flow outside. Because if it flows inside and it doesn't flow outside, it's not balanced. So I have to open my door and throw it out as well, so that when wet flows in, good things flow in, and they have to flow out too. Some percentage have to flow out too. I throw that out. And some people look at me disdained. Some students look at me disdained, but I don't care. I keep doing what I'm doing. And over time, they come to understand the symbolisms. So, and over time, there are colleagues who are doing that too, like Mazio Keke, who is just on top of me here. I'm here on the first floor, he's on the second floor. And we have Mazin Nabuhi. Some of us would the likes of Ishola, who is a traditionalist Yoruba. We often meet at the foyer, the faculty foyer, the ground floor. We do our prayers, we break cola. Sometimes they break cola and they say, the ancestors say, until I come or till one of us come, we are not complete before we can eat the cola. And so on and so forth. So they know, they are beginning to see us that way, to know us that way. And we are beginning to make our mark. We introduce courses whereby we invite Dibia. If you can invite Brahma Krishna people to come and teach Indian spirituality, Chinese to come and teach Chinese spirituality, Christian pastors and Muslim imams, why shouldn't I invite Dibias? So we invite Dibias to come and teach African culture. So we invite them. So with the likes of C.S. Momo, S.B. Oluwale, Idoniboye, who are forthright, they suffered more than us because they were doing African philosophy. They were not promoted to professor. 10 years after their mates, colleagues have been promoted, that was when they were promoted, because they refused to write and eulogize Western philosophy. They kept writing African philosophy until they were made professor, and so they paved the way for people like us. And even at that, when people like us started, we were denied. We were told that we wanted to bring voodoo into academics until they saw the perspectives that we were distilling. And by the time I produced the first PhD, I remember the title cost opera in the department, in the faculty, and some people came to me. What are you talking? Spirits? Are you talking about spirit? Witches, they fly in the air, blah, blah, blah. And it was just the nature. The title of the boy spirit is The Nature of Spirit in Hegel's Idealism and Ifa Corpus, because he's Yoruba. And that thesis has taken him to the United States today. He's in the US.
Yes.
All right. Today is in the US, one of the universities there. We are communicating. All right. And so, and then when the boy now presented his proposal, did his title defense in the department, they came telling him, they said, sorry, we didn't know that by spirit you meant mind. I said, spirit and mind? I'm talking about mind, spirit, mind. And so we distilled, and those things they didn't know, we distilled them, principles of mind in the Yoruba culture, and compared it with Hegel. And then we now began to see, they saw that our own understanding is that of pluralism, onyebiri beyabiri, is intersubjectivity, that of live and let live, while that of Hegel is domination, imperialism. So the comparative analysis brought our culture to the fore. So that we can do that individually, but beyond the individual thing, we must also know that we must forgo our pride, because one thing working against us Africans is that each one is trading with what he or she knows and fences other people off. And so everybody is talking at different times and we are contradicting ourselves. So that is why I love the platform Chiism. And I love it because you are trying to build not a common front for us to present our ideas, right? And for us to talk so that we can have a common focus Yes, it's different cultures, different slight different nuances, but the ontology is the same. The ontology is that of live and let live, of any typical African people.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
so the ontology is the same. It's the anthropology that differs live here and there, little here and there. But the problem with us is that because this issue of business profiteering has entered into us, so we put that ahead of everything, and that is working against us. And so we should learn how to cooperate with ourselves, even though we hold our whatever we are doing, but we should learn how to network.
That's
if
right.
we can network, we will then know our power.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm so glad that you said, I'm so glad that you talked about networking, because I have something written here by Akachi Azubike. Chiism Live. Do you think it's time to directly converse about demonization of African spirituality with Black church and mosque in interfaith forums?
Absolutely.
The Ultra conference that we're going to be having is going to incorporate Christian and Muslim representatives, okay, so that we can have that dialogue, you know. And so that conference is going to incorporate not just Chiist, but people from different religious perspectives, so we can get all those perspectives. Thank you very much, Akachi. But as we begin to close this program today, I just want to share this very simple thought. It isn't what you're called, but what you answer to that defines who you are. Okay? You cannot blame people for what they do to you when you refute, when you accept their definition. We must be reminded, and thank you guys for saying how important this show is. We must remind ourselves how sacred we are. We are descendants of not royalty. When I talk about royalty, I'm not just talking in terms of, oh, your mother was king, your father was Eze, or all of that. Royalty, we are the first. All of us, Black people, humanity and civilization started with us. That's our royalty. That's our connection with royalty. We need to be reminded that the kings and queens and all that, those are all societal titles. But in terms of who we are as African people, we started it all. And we need to know that. We are sacred. We are powerful. We had warriors in our past. We're not just simple people. We are powerful people. You know, the wisdom of the ancestors, the great-grandmothers, the great-grandfathers, they're still accessible to us. They're still in our minds. Accessible to us through the acknowledgement of the power of our spirit. We need to embrace all that we are. Define ourselves and not allow people to define us. Who are you? Igbo people say, whose child are you? It is up to you to define whose child you are. Nobody can tell you whose child you are. You know who your mama is. You know who your daddy is. You define yourself. Go beyond the description, this humanness that has been ascribed for you to embrace and use that to define who you are. Go beyond all of that. See, when we get to the point that we start acknowledging who we are, that's when the universe begins to pay attention. When you are happy with who you are, the universe pays attention. That's when the universe picks you up. Chineke holds you up and Eke keeps you up. You can walk around this earth in holy boldness and say, Abumwa Africa, I'm from Al-Kebulan. I'm just as important, I'm just as good as anyone else. Unless you can accept that, you can't teach your children something you don't embrace. You can't. The children are depending on us, no matter good, bad, or indifferent. If nobody can come into your house and reorganize your house and tell you that it's preferable that it looks this way. You set your home the way you want it to be. Let people come in and visit. If they don't want to visit, they can go. Nobody can disrupt your home. As long as you allow that to happen, then you can't complain. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you, the Dibias, as always. Thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts. And I want to thank everyone. But I have a challenge for all of you. Don't come next Sunday without inviting a guest. I want us to be up to 20 something on the show. I mean, there are some people that are watching elsewhere that you don't see. But I want each one of us to bring a guest for next Sunday. That's how you prove that you're serious. Don't just come by yourself. Bring somebody. Share the knowledge. And so it is. Ya gazienu. Ụbọchị anyị niile buru ihe. Ihe ọbụla niile anyị aka ka ọ bụrụ sọ mma mma. Ụwa niile site n'aka anyị wee hụ ihe site ugbu a ruo mgbe niile ebighị ebi. May every way of our life, our acts be crowned with good. May all the world prosper by our philosophy, so that all humanity can join hands and praise God in the way they understand best, without bitterness and without quarrels. Until next Sunday, you guys stay safe out there. God, Chineke loves you, and you better believe it. And so it is.
You say.